Hi everyone. So now that we are in week 3, I wanted to take some time to start talking about the midterm project since it is about 3.5 weeks away. So I wanted to cover what it's about, what the specific components of it would consist of, what the expectations of this would be, and then more specifically in your project proposal and in your pitch, what the sections are that it could consist of or that it should consist of, and then what kinds of questions you would want to answer in those specific sections. So about this, what I really want you to do now is, now that you've been issued your case studies and you've looked at them and explored them and you've seen if they do or don't match the definition of good content and you've played with that idea and you've explored with it, what I want you to do is take the lessons of what they've done successfully or not so successfully and apply them elsewhere. So what you're going to do as a group is you're going to identify and select a real health nonprofit, a media entity, or an educational institution of your group's choosing. This could be any that you maybe find favorable, that you've always wanted to improve, or that you're interested in helping with good content. And then what you're going to do is create a proposal and a pitch for a new content campaign for the entity of your choice. So the idea is to take the lessons from these case studies and apply them to a campaign. So your group would pick, say, a health nonprofit of your choosing, and then you'd come up with a proposal for a content campaign that would help them to get to one of their goals. So for instance, perhaps the organization doesn't do a good job of reaching out to their target audience, or their content isn't clear or user-centered. What you would do is propose a content campaign to help them refocus and to actually meet their goal. So basically you're going to be and act as a consulting agency who is issuing a proposal and a pitch to help this entity move further along and meet their goals. So with that, and generally how this would work in the industry, is that there would be two components of this. The first is that you would issue a proposal, and in this case the proposal is going to be due on the 26th of June and is going to be worth 150 points. One person from your group would submit that through the assignments tool before the synchronous session on that date. And then what you would do after you submit that proposal is we are actually going to pitch that. And that's what you would do if you were an agency. So you'll get in front of your stakeholders, or in this case the class, and you'll give your presentation about what it's all about. So we're going to do and mirror exactly that. So on the 26th of June at the synchronous session, we'll be giving these presentations and they'll be worth 50 points of your overall grade. So what am I looking for here? So first, the proposal should really be only about 4 to 5 pages. When we write a proposal, we don't really want it to be too wordy. We want it to be clear and concise and really represent the ideas that we're coming up with. So we should make it concise and really only use the amount of words that we'll need to answer the question efficiently, and then we just want to move on. And then you'll have about 10 minutes for the pitch. That way it'll fit into our hour-long session, and people will be able to ask questions and you'll be able to give answers. And really, please try to limit it to about 10 minutes. Once again, this is about being concise and efficient with your words, and so you're going to be graded on that. And I know that with a time limit, there can be a desire to speak really fast to get under that time limit, but we're really trying to discourage that here too. So I'd urge you to practice together or rehearse and make sure that you're meeting that criteria for good content in your own presentations. Now, I'm also aware that this is your first time you're doing either of these, perhaps, a proposal and a pitch of this nature, and as such, I really want you to get the practice in this. And so if you were to do this in an agency setting or anywhere in the professional world, you would work with a team where some of you might be more experienced with these proposals and pitches. Some of you might be less, but the idea is that you would work together. So this is just going to be practice. So I'm very aware that this is your first time possibly doing this. And I'm okay, I'm going to give you the opportunity to submit drafts for revisions. And if there may be any problems that arise as you work on these, I want to be able and willing to give you my take and my feedback before this project is due. And you'd be able to submit any revisions. So just make sure that you're giving me the proper amount of time to take a look and really give critical substantive feedback. So maybe you want to submit something at the end of week 4 for me to take a look at, and I would have a couple of days to look at it, and then you'd be able to incorporate that feedback. So once again, I want to make sure that this experience is real practice and real learning. It's not just something to grade you on. And really, like I said, in the real world, anytime that you are submitting a proposal, someone else would take a look and you'd practice your pitch and you'd be given feedback before you really issued them to a client. And that's what I want to do here. That's the environment I want to mimic. So with that, in both the proposal and the pitch, there's a specific structure. So this isn't something that's relevant to all proposals you'll ever need to write, but these are the different sections here that would make sense for the needs of this course and what we're learning. So the idea here is as we get to week 6, which is midterm week, you'll go through the different phases of the Novelli campaign creation model that we're introducing in this module as well. So we'll go through phase 1, 2, and 3 of the Novelli model, and then traditionally, after someone did an analysis and after they came up with a preliminary structure and ideas, they would actually go and present their ideas before and create that buy-in before proceeding and moving forward with the campaign to make sure that everything is accurate and that everybody's agreed to it before you actually then go and then do the work. So that's really what we're doing here in week 6. So after we've explored all these ideas, before we move forward and the implementation and really start to do the work, this would be something that we would issue. We would issue a proposal and a pitch. So that's what we're practicing here in the midterm project. So each of the sections of this proposal that you're issuing will correspond to a week in the course. So this means that as I go through this presentation right here, I'll tie in the different sections of your proposal into different weeks of the course. So if any of this looks unfamiliar right now, what you'll be able to do is know that you'll understand some of these aspects a little bit better after the week that I've labeled here. But this also means that you and your group should be working on all of these sections week by week. So in this specific example, we'll have 6 sections of the proposal and the pitch, and they're going to be an introduction, an analysis, your goals and your objectives, what the program structure is going to be like. You'll talk about your messages and your rhetoric, and you'll also come up with your conclusion. So in the introduction section, and this will be relevant to week 2 of the course, is that you're going to answer the following questions. The first is, what is the organization you're creating a content campaign for? And you'll want to state and give background about them so everybody's on the same page about what this specific entity is. What is their goal and their mission? And then with this project, what problems are you trying to solve in this content creation campaign? What is their current offering and how does it not meet the goals and their mission? So you might want to state what they do well and what they might need to improve upon. And then you're going to move into the next section into your analyses, and that will be covered in week 3 this week. So you'll want your market analysis. So what does the current market or landscape look like? Why is there a need for this specific offering? You'll also have your consumer analysis. So what kinds of people are you trying to influence? Why do you want to influence them? Where are they geographically? Is this something that you want to do nationally in a city? And where would this be taking place? And then you'll also be doing your institutional analysis. So have other organizations tried something like this? Has it worked? And what resources would it take to do something like this? And like we're covering in this week, we want to make sure that it fits with the organization. They might need to hire new people or an agency if they were going to go and do this content campaign. So you want to point that out here. And these analyses should really be short since this is a 4 to 5 page paper and there are 6 sections. It doesn't need to be more than a page. So you want to answer the questions that are here, and that'll be your analysis for this, and you'll want to move on to the next section. Then you'll want to move on to the goals and objectives section, and that'll be covered in week 4 of this course. So what is your course strategy? And in week 4, we'll talk about what a course strategy is and the specific components of a course strategy, which are flexible, aspirational, memorable, motivational, and inclusive. And also, are the goals that you're trying to set out to achieve realistic, and why are they? And then what are your biggest priorities in this campaign? And then also, what does success look like tangibly? And we want it to be measurable. So rather than just saying something like increase sales or create brand recognition, what is that as a percentage? How many more people is that? So you could also, you could make an educated guess on this. So how do you want to be judged? The idea here is you want to start thinking about what success looks like. How do you want to be judged on how this campaign is successful or not successful? So you want to set that out here as well. And then after that, you'll want to talk about program structure. So we've covered this a little bit in weeks 1 and 2, and we'll also cover this in week 4. So what is the end result we're looking for? What actions do we need our users to take in order to get there? What is the attitude we need to shift in order to make our users take action? So remember, this is why we're creating the content. We're actually trying to change the attitudes of the people we're talking to make them take some sort of action. So what is that specific attitude we need to shift in order to do that? And that's why we're creating the content after all. And then what are the specific aspects of or characteristics of good content that our content needs to contain in order for us to get there? So if we need to have that attitude to be shifted, what kind of characteristics does it contain? So rather than saying something like, we need a Facebook page, or we need to be on Twitter, or we need online advertising, specifically when we talk about the content, the words, and the visuals of our efforts, what characteristics should the elements of those actually contain in order for us to shift that attitude? And then in the next section, we'll talk about message and rhetoric. So we'll talk about logic and credibility. So the questions you want to answer there are, what are the basic benefits that the target consumer should expect from being involved? So what is their rational self-interest in being involved in this? And then also, why should the consumer actually believe this? You should talk about emotion. So what should the tone, persona, and style be? So specifically say in the case of Ellen DeGeneres as one of the case studies, that's a clear example of tone, style, and persona, but really all of the case studies do this well with President Ono and with the Movember campaign as well. So what should the tone feel like? And then your call to action. So what specific actions should the consumer be asked to undertake? So you want to list these out. And then finally, you'll give your conclusion and your next steps. So you'll want to wrap it up with these kinds of questions that you'd answer. Why does your proposal make sense for the organization to pursue? Why would they want to do this? And then also, why do you think it will work? So not only why are you proposing it, but why do you think this is going to be successful in order for the organization or the company or the entity to reach its goals? And then also from that, what can they gain from working with you? So you want to answer these questions here. So I hope that this answers a lot of your questions about what specifically is going to be involved in the midterm project. And I also just wanted to encourage you to use the Ask the Instructor board if you have any questions. And I'm also always available via appointment for office hours. So I'll also be using the next synchronous session to answer questions in case there are questions about the midterm, and then to get any clarification on what might be involved in it. So as always, I wanted to make myself available to you in order to give you a clear understanding of the midterm, what's to be expected, and then how you can make it successful.